So if you look here, it says select the method below you would use to begin the problem. So on the test, it'll say perform the operation. I'm not going to tell you like to add or subtract. You should be able to see what you should be doing. Okay? The first one, you don't have to perform anything. But look at the second one. It's division. So you should know right away what you have to do. I made this for you so that you can kind of figure out what your first step is. So there's the first step, or these are all the ones that you have to do. The first one, factor if necessary and cancel. That's if you're just simplifying. Number 2 is factor, flip, second fraction, and cancel like terms. That's for division. So I'm going to write a little division sign here for you. If you're doing division, if you're doing that operation, you need to factor and then change it to multiplication and flip. We talked about that. Okay? Factor, flip the second fraction, and cancel like factors. Multiply all fractions by the LCD. That's if you're adding or subtracting. Okay, so that's all the methods that you would use. Cross multiply only happens when you have an equal sign. So those are the 4 methods we learned this chapter. We learned just simplifying, where you just cross things out. We learned that multiplying, straight across, cancel. We learned division, where you have to change the multiplication and flip. And we just learned yesterday cross multiplication with the equal sign, which you guys were pretty good at. Okay, so just knowing what you're doing is a huge process, and that's why I put like methods over there. So the very first one, there is nothing. It's just one guy. That's all it is. There's no division. There's no adding. So this is method 1. So I'm just going to put method 1 here so that you're aware of what method we're doing when you go back and study. So the method is factor if you can, and then cancel. So those are the 2 steps that you need to do for this problem. That's why I listed that for you above. So let's factor. What is the square root of x squared? And then what's the square root of 121? Careful. 11. You were really close. So then I would write that as x plus 11 and x minus 11. Good. Okay. Now let's talk about the second part. So we're going to factor again. What number, so this is GCF, what number goes into 2 and 22? 2. So I'm going to do a different color here, and I'm going to divide each one by 2. The moment that you divide something by 2, it comes on the outside like this. That's what that means. You're dividing something by 2. It's now in front of the parentheses. What's left inside? X minus 11. Very good. And you know it's minus because there was a minus here. And then look what happens. So this is the second step of the method above. You cancel what you can. I canceled it. And we're going to be done here. I'm going to highlight this piece. X plus 11 over 2, because that's my final answer. X plus 11 all over 2. Now, I didn't ask this question, but I'm going to ask it because on the test it asks it. Okay? I give it to you like this over this. So this part's already factored for you on the bottom. What's the excluded value? What makes the bottom equal to 0? Positive 11. Very good. So off to the side, I'm going to put EV for excluded value. And your excluded value is x cannot be a positive 11. Because again, I do ask you for that on the test, and I want to make sure that you have it. It's basically what makes this piece equal to 0. Well, if I put 11 in, 11 minus 11 is 0. And I can't have that. If you put it in the calculator, you can't divide by 0. Questions? Okay, so that was day 1. So if you missed day 1, that was a summary of what we just did. Okay, this is going to be day 3, I think, division we did. So here, I'm going to look back up at my methods. Division says, number 2, so we're on method 2. We're going to factor if we can, and then we're going to change it to multiplication and flip. That's the division method. Okay, those are the steps for division. So let's first factor. Take a look. The only piece that I can factor is this. That's it. Ooh. Did I mess that up? I might have. Wait, does this have anything else here?
4, yeah.
20. Okay, I'm like, that's not going to really help us. Okay, so there was supposed to be a 4 there. I think you guys have it. So now let's look at that one. It's the only one that I can factor. So I'm going to kind of go off to the side and say, let's factor this first before I do anything. So I'm going to factor. Again, I'm just making a note for myself so that you know what we're doing. What can I divide 4x and 24 by? 4. Okay, so divide each piece by 4, which means I have 4 parentheses something. X plus what number is inside? 6. 6, very good. Okay, so you've now done that piece. Everything else is pretty straightforward. So here we go. The second step is I'm going to rewrite it, x over 4x plus 6. You just basically replaced this with what you factored. Now that we have division, we have to change it to multiplication and flip the second fraction. And we do that normally when we divide by a fraction in general. Like 3/4 divided by 3/4 is really 3/4 times 4/3. You switch it. And now let's cancel. And we're going to be done. So the hardest part, I think, is just knowing what to do. And that's why I wrote the methods above. So this is going to cancel. The x plus 6 is. What else is going to cancel? Yeah, the x's. They're gone. Now let's take a look. I have a 4 on the bottom and a 5 on the bottom. What's 4 times 5? 20. What's left on top? Nothing, but how do we represent nothing, really? A 1. Very good. Okay, so I'll explain that. When you cross something out in purple here, it technically means you get 1. X divided by x is 1. And then x plus 6 divided by x plus 6 is 1. And 1 times 1 is 1. So you're really just left with 1. Okay? Just like 2 divided by 2 is 1. It's the same thing. X divided by x is 1. Okay? Questions? Make sure you got that down. Next one, number 3. So again, I see addition here. So I'm going to go back up and take a look. My method is method 3, and that's multiply all fractions about what's missing on the LCD. So we need an LCD here. This is method 3. Okay, so when you go back in your notes or you're looking when you're reviewing, you could then look and see what your methods are. So my LCD, I'm just going to kind of go off to the side and figure out what my LCD is. Okay, does the smaller number go into the bigger number? Yes, so that bigger number is going to be my LCD with the x with it, because you got to include the x. If that's the case, which is very common, you just have to multiply this first fraction to get to 10. Okay? So again, this second fraction already has 10x. So I'm just going to rewrite it and figure out what's going to be on my left side. You don't want to change this guy. He's good. He has the common denominator of 10x. What do I have to multiply the top and bottom by in order to get 10x here? 2. It already has an x, so I don't need an x. So I know it'll be 10x on the bottom because it's always going to be the same. Now we distribute. 2 times x gets me 2x. 2 times 2 gets me a positive 4. Are we okay there? Now we just combine and we're done. Okay, I'm going to combine when I can. So the things that combine are just these numbers. There's no other x's to combine. So I have 2x plus something all over 10x plus what? What's 4 plus 3? 7. And we're done. It's that simple. Okay, I know that it's a hard chapter, guys. I'm not saying this is easy. It's definitely hard. But I think the more you practice, the better you are getting at it. So keep going with it. Okay, let's continue. This one I think you guys like. This was from yesterday. So this is going to be method 4, I think, with the equal sign. Yeah, if there's an equal sign, you cross multiply. So that's where we are. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to cross multiply. I'm going to do 18 times x plus 3. So I get 18 times x plus 3 is equal to, and then in blue, 6 times x plus 1. 6 times x plus 1. Okay? Are you okay there? I feel like we were pretty good at this yesterday, so I'm going to kind of go a little faster. But that's really the only thing, and everything else is just solving. So I have 18x. What is 18 times 3? Need some help there. 24? No? 54? Thank you. And then I have, same thing, 6x and 6. So 6x plus 6 here. Questions? Now again, your method could be, yep. It would not be squared because the only time you get a squared is if you do x times x. It's a good question. Okay, so from here, it really is your choice. It does not matter which way you choose. You can move anything here. It's the second part that is the one that you need to make sure that you know what to do. So here, I'm just personally going to move the 6x. You could have moved something else. You did not have to move the 6x first. That's gone. So then I have 18 minus 6x, which gets me 12x. Bring down the plus 54. Bring down the positive 6. Do I have everything right so far? Okay. Ooh, this is supposed to be a minus 1. Why do I keep doing that, guys? Sorry, this is supposed to be a minus 1. I just copied it wrong from here. So that means that this guy is a minus 6. So just change this part, all the 6's. That's a my bad. Okay, then what do I do next? Good, I subtract, because the goal is to get everything away from the x. That's gone. And I get 12x is equal to negative 60. Because if I owe you 54 bucks and I borrowed 6 more, I now owe you $60. Then I do what? Divide. And I get x is equal to negative 5. And I think we actually did that one yesterday. Didn't even realize it until now. Do you have any questions on this one? The hard part is the solving part. Yeah. This is method 4. The cross multiplication. We okay there? Okay. This one. This is the one where people tend to struggle with, is this guy. This is multiplication, so we are in method 2. Yeah, no. Oh, there really is no method here, I guess. Just multiply. I'll put multiply. I thought I had one for there. Or it's just 1. I guess 1 is the same thing. You factor and simplify. I guess method 1 is the same thing. Okay, so let's talk about this one. This one's a little bit harder than the one that's going to be on the test, but if you can do this one, you're going to be good. Go across. 3 times 7 gets me 21. Okay, in blue, I have a squared times a squared gets me a to the what power? 4, because you add them. So if you need to make a note for yourself, when you multiply, you're really going to be adding your exponents. And then in green, I have 1b and no b's, so I just have 1b. There's no other b to multiply it to. And in purple, same thing. There's no other c's to multiply it to, so I have c cubed. Okay, we're going to do the 14 here because, again, that's just there. There's nothing to multiply to. And then in blue, a times, there's no other a's, so just a. And then I'm going to color code my b's in green. B times b squared gets me b to what power? Careful. I heard some people say it. 3. There's secretly a 1 here. B to the first power. So there's 3 total b's. And then in purple, I have c squared. And now we can simplify. Once we get to here, we can simplify. 21 and 14, what number goes into both of them? Higher. What number goes into 21 and 14? What'd you say? Close, actually. Yes, but what would you say? What was the other one, though? 7. It's going to be 7. So they brought up a good topic here. I missed one. Thank you. I need you guys. C squared times c gets me c cubed. I didn't even see that guy there lurking. Thank you. Okay, so you're right. You divide by 7 on the top and bottom. And you get 3 over 2 for sure. And then let's figure out where our variables go. I have 4 a's on top, 1 on bottom. How many's left and where is it? 3 on top. Very good. You're subtracting the exponents here. So I have a to the third. I have 1b on top, 3 on bottom. How many's left and where is it? 2 on the bottom. Very good. And then look, gone. We're done. Questions? You okay there? If it helps you to visualize it. Like this green guy. There's 1 on top, 1, 2, 3 on bottom. 1's gone, 2's left on the bottom, if that helps. Okay? All right. This one is really easy. Okay? This is going to be method, what was adding and subtracting? 3. Okay? Multiply by what's missing. But if you look here, it already has an LCD. So this is method 3. But it already has a common denominator. They both are 4x, and that should be really exciting to you because then you have to do like nothing but add the tops. But the biggest thing is, make sure you change this to a plus sign and change all of the signs after. If you don't do that, you might get confused at that last one, or you might get that wrong. Okay, you might subtract the x but forget to subtract the 1. Okay, so let's just go across. 3x minus x gets me how many x's? 2 x's. And then in green I have 2 minus 1, 1. And then all over 4x, and I'm done. Okay, that should be the easiest one for you. You should like that one. And that's when you have the same LCD. You didn't have to do anything. They're both the same. Okay there? Okay, I like this one too because it's all done for you. Like I factored everything for you. You just have to play some crossing out games here. This x minus 3 is gone. That's nice. The x minus 5 is gone. That's even nicer. And now let's just go straight across. I have 2 times x plus 1, 2 times x plus 1, all over 10. And we're almost done. Because what can I divide the top and bottom by? 2. Divide by 2, divide by 2. And I get x plus 1 all over what number? 5. And we're done. Now, you didn't need parentheses in the x plus 1, but... Question? No. Almost there. Okay. Question? That was going to be just, I think, method 1, where you just cancel. Yeah, you just simplify. Okay, this one. I'm only going to get you through, like, the first step, because I want to make sure you have time to make up all that work, because I feel like you're fine once we get the first step down. So this is a division one, and division is going to be method 2. So we factor if we can, and then we flip here. So the biggest part here, so this is method 2, is to make sure it's over 1. We actually probably could do this one pretty quick. What's the square root of 9? 3. So I'm going to show you kind of how to do this one pretty quickly. So this one's going to be x plus 3 and x minus 3. Actually, I don't have to rush because you still have a whole half period. Does anyone have questions on where I got that from? All over 6. And then we change it to multiplication in red and flip the second fraction. So now I have 1 over x plus 3. And then we're going to be pretty much done. That's why I said we can finish this pretty quickly. Because look, x plus 3 is gone with the x plus 3. I'm going to highlight what's left. I have this, this, and this. Now, people always ask me about this 1. X minus 3 times 1 is x minus 3. That's why we don't need the 1. Okay? So I have my final answer, x minus 3 all over 6. And that's it. Question? Sure? Okay, next one. You guys, I feel like, are really good at this one. It's going to be really fast because you just cross multiply. So, first and foremost, I'm going to ask you this question because this is the one where everyone gets wrong for some reason. Not everyone, but most people. What is the excluded value here? It's 0, thank you. X can't be 0 if it's a single letter here. That's the biggest one that people don't do well on there. Okay, now let's do it. So I have 3 times x in green gets me 3x. And then in blue, I just said green. And then in green, what's 7 times 6? 42. Then we divide, and you get what number? 14 is my final answer. You guys were pretty good at this yesterday, so we got one more, and the rest of the time is either yours to make up stuff or yours because you've already made it up, or maybe you can help someone and I can give you extra credit if you're all made up. You can help someone out, whatever you need to do. Okay. All right, number 10 looks weird. We didn't do this one yesterday, but I'm going to show you it because it is going to be in your test, and I want to make sure that you get it. And it's actually pretty easy once you understand what to do. This again is cross multiplication, and cross multiply was method 4. These are both 4. Factor, cross multiply here. Okay, first step, let's factor. Let's talk about this guy right here. what multiplies to a positive 1 and adds to a negative 2? What are the only two things that multiply to 1? 1 and 1. Well, what are both of their signs? Negative. Careful. Negative 1 minus 1 gets me a negative 2. So now I'm just going to rewrite it for you just so that you get used to it. I have 2 over x minus 1, that's where that came from. It's why we did that. Maybe kind of like draw an arrow so you know where it went. Is equal to 1 over x minus 1. And now we can cross multiply, and you're going to see something interesting happen. And I think you're going to like it because it actually makes it easier than what we did in the first page. So I'm going to go like this, 2 times x minus 1. For this one, I would recommend don't skip a step if you're a skip a stepper. Skip a stepper. Okay, because some people would have done 2x minus 2 already. And I get that. But you're going to see what happens here. Because when I cross multiply in blue, 1 times anything is itself. So I'm still going to have x minus 1, x minus 1. Now, if you know math, or just in general here, when it comes to equations, what you have on the left side and the right side, if they're the same, they go away. Okay, so it's kind of like what we were doing earlier. These are now going to go away. Because you have the same thing on the left side as you do on the right side. And I'm just going to show you why I don't write this. If I have 2x equals 2, well, they both have the same thing. X is equal to 1. And when you actually solve that, you would get 1. Okay, so that makes sense. Okay, it's the same way. So now I have 2 is equal to x minus 1, and it's like the easiest problem ever. What do I got to do to both sides? Add 1. So x is equal to 3, and we're done. Okay, so it looked complicated, but it turned out to be pretty simple. Okay, I'll leave that up there. The remainder of the time is yours to get on Edulastic and go through anything that you have. I will print your grade sheet, but I'm going to enter your day 6 right away now, like yesterday's homework, and then I'll print your grade sheets and you can see it. But right now you could